Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. I'm Steven Silver, character designer and teacher, dedicated to helping you learn about the art industry and living up to your potential. Whippy! All right, so before we start today, I wanted to mention this documentary that I just saw. I should have done my, not research, I've done the research. I saw the movie, I should have known the name, but it's this World War I documentary by Peter Jackson. I think it's like They Shall Not Get Old or Grow Old or something like that. But if you do Peter Jackson, World War I. And the only reason I want to mention this, I just saw this movie before it was released, and it's a World War I documentary. They've taken all the old footage from World War I, but it's on the British side, so it's not telling the whole story of all the different parts of the war. It's just talking about specifically like the trench warfare and all these British soldiers signing up. So it depends where you live in the world. It's fascinating, either way, this insight where when they used to film these documentaries and they were just like filming and they were just hand cranking it, and that's why they're so sped up. And now they've slowed down the frame rate and they colorized it. It's not throughout with voice sync up, but they did voice sync up with people, so it's almost like you know what they're saying. But it was being told from the stories of the World War I veterans when, back in like the 1950s and 60s when they were old men. They're deceased now, but it's just their voices. And you don't even have to like documentaries or not. But I gotta tell you, what was so fascinating about this documentary is that it gave us insight. I truly believe it's given us insight into the past that it has never been there. It's just like all of a sudden going back and having film footage or a real story or something behind, just some sort of civilization, thousands of years ago, or even the Civil War, whatever war. It depends where you live in the world, of course. Whatever. I'm talking, just all of a sudden, this history that we've never seen before. We've never seen it the way it's been done. Like it's like, and it was so, it was amazing. It was amazing to me. And that's it. I just kind of wanted to share. I wanted to share my excitement for it because I feel like I love history. But to be able to see that, I feel like, wow, I just learned. We've seen World War II footage. We've seen this footage. We've seen that footage. But you've never seen it like this before. And all of a sudden, it's just like finding this ancient scroll and going, oh my God, we just discovered this. And that's what it is. It's a discovery for mankind. I honestly believe like that film is going to be in the history books in England, in America, in Europe, around forever. Just the discussion of World War I. And it was amazing to me, not only how brave all these men were and these young kids and they did what they did, but the camaraderie between the Germans and the British when they were fighting. They were fighting. They were sworn enemies at that moment. But when they captured each other, they almost were like buddies. It's like none of them wanted to be fighting. None of them wanted to be killing each other, like that. And they were all terrified in the conditions that they lived in. But it was amazing to see how when they captured them and because of the lip reading, you like hearing the conversation almost between like the German and the British soldier, and they're giving each other cigarettes, and they're just happy to be alive. That's I'm gonna kick it off with that. Just be happy to be alive. Be happy to be alive. Just that you can breathe and you can do things. But the heart of what my topic is going to be today is, I wrote it down here, is when you don't care anymore. This is why, or when it's time for change. When you don't care anymore. And this is very important because you're going to find yourself throughout life, along this path, along this journey, you're going to find yourself in jobs and situations when you just don't care anymore. There's going to be organizations you might join and be a part of, and eventually you just don't care anymore, and so you're going to move away. There may be a certain job that you're at and you start to feel like, it's not in me anymore. I don't care. There's no love. So when you stop caring, that is the time you don't just jump ship. I don't believe in just jumping ship. And what I mean by that is you're not going to be sailing on your boat and you're going to be out in the middle of the ocean and there's nothing around you and you just decide that you don't like the weather and you don't like the way this boat's going anymore. You don't like the feel of the boat. You don't like anything. So you're just going to jump overboard, just ship into the vast ocean where there's nothing else around. What are you left with? You're left stranded. You're left with nothing. You're left with desire. You're left with hope. You're left with just anxiety. You're left with all these things because you have nothing else in sight. And so it's very important that you have something in sight. If you want to jump that ship, just make sure there's another boat below. Make sure that there's an island that you can see. Make sure that there's something there that you can start to put into motion, just to decide that, you know what, I just don't care anymore. I don't care. It just doesn't, when these things, when you don't care anymore, everyone's got their own personal thing, but I feel if I were to say you don't care anymore, I mean, there's a detachment. You're just not as active. You're not going to be as engaging anymore. You're not participating as much anymore. You're not showing up. You're not and that could be I got to be careful when I say that, at a job, I'm thinking maybe more organizational things and different things going on. But when you're at a job, yeah, you got to show up, you got to be there. But you know what I'm saying? You're detached. Every morning you're waking up and going, man, dang, got to go there. And it becomes a drag. How long do you want to keep doing that for? And you're going to have to make some really hard decisions. And I don't know where you're at in your life. I know where I'm at in my life. And I know where I was at when I decided that I didn't care about working inside the studios anymore. I wanted to be attached to the studios. I wanted to still do freelance for the studios and partake, and I still do all the time. I just didn't want to be in-house anymore. I just didn't care about being in-house anymore. I mean, I loved the friends I made. That's the beauty of being in-house. When you form these bonds and you make these friends, and I was just at a crew lunch yesterday for a bunch of Kim Possible crews. I mean, this is from 20 years ago. I don't even know how many years ago it's been now. But, we still get together and we still, and it's just like you build these relationships and it's a beautiful thing. But, you get to that point after that, what do they call it? The honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase, like when you get married, woo, kissy, kissy, lovey, everything's so grand and beautiful and everything's so exciting in the beginning. And then the kids come and then this goes. And then all of a sudden now there's over 50% of divorces, right? In the United States anyway, 50-50. So it's not so grand all the time, right? So you get past that phase where, yeah, this is exciting, this is fun, I'm at the studio, I'm doing this, I got this job, I got that job, and eventually I got to direct this, I got to create this, and eventually you start to lose the mojo a bit. That's almost what I feel like. Again, I don't know Peter Jackson's full thing, but that's when I look at Peter Jackson, I'm like, this guy's done making big Hollywood movies. This guy's making stuff that he really cares about. He did that World War I, and now is doing a Beatles documentary, which is going to be awesome. And I love that. So it's like you get to that point. But here's the thing too, is like you have to, there's going to be a lot. You cannot just go from being nothing, doing nothing, having nothing, and just all of a sudden just whoop, and just kind of get that think that you're going to get that high job, that amazing opportunity straight away so that you can just decide you don't care anymore and then just quit. You have to go up that ladder. You have to climb that mountain. You got to climb those ropes. You got to go through the obstacle course. You're going to go through this sort of stuff to eventually build up to where you don't care anymore. Because if you're not caring, in the beginning, which I think is and I'm talking, maybe I should say the age, really. I mean, when you're young, I think if you're 16, or not even 16, because you don't even know, maybe when you're 18, because that's when I started really, 19, started taking drawing more seriously at that age. And at 18, to about, I don't know, 35 years old, 30 years old, 35, even, you should care. You should care about being a part of things. You should care about wanting to improve yourself. You should care about the job you have. You should care about these things. But even though you may be in there and you're younger and you're 30 years old sitting there and now you're at a job that you've been there for 2 years and you just don't care anymore, how much longer are you going to endure the suffering? How much longer are you going to endure the pain? Because you know what it does, unfortunately? It just doesn't end there. It starts to affect everything else in your life. You're coming home unhappy. You'll be around the people. You come home and you're around people. If you got a family or a spouse or a partner, whoever you got, all you're doing is complaining, and you're making their existence, miserable. So everything around you is affected when you don't care anymore, So you got to decide when you don't care anymore, just to let go, just to move on, go beyond, or at least try to start setting stuff up for change. And hope that that'll work out. And then you're going to get yourself involved in something else. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get to the point maybe too where you don't care with that anymore. And you know what? It's perfectly okay. You don't have to be sitting in the same... We're not trees. We don't have to stay stationary in the same point where we're alive like a tree, where there's so much of us that are, the trees can endure some serious tornadoes and winds and weather and all sorts of conditions and still maintain. But we're not just sitting there stuck, going nowhere and just blowing in the wind. And if you're in a job or in a situation that you don't care anymore, that's what you become. You become a tree. And quite honestly, I think you'd rather be a bird, and you'd rather get to go from one tree to the next and experience it, be a bee, whatever, you name it. I don't know. Anything that can fly. That'd be cool to fly. I wish I could fly. Without wings or a jetpack. I just want to fly, just like lift up and fly. Be like Superman. But so that's the important thing that I kind of wanted to just express with this art talk, is just like, if you're truly feeling that, it's a signal too. It's a sign. You're feeling it. So this is why, again, you're gonna make everyone around you miserable. You're gonna be miserable. And what's the point? I mean, why? And you're gonna, here's the term, paying your dues. You guys have heard that one before. You got to pay your dues. That's, again, not another phrase that's been just made up. It's like hey man, you got to pay your dues. You want to get there. You can't just go from zero to hero so quickly, so fast. And even if you did, as they say, that you're gonna miss a hell of a lot. It's almost gonna be too much. Look what happens to young people who all of a sudden go from zero to becoming super famous, or from people who win the lotto, who have never had money and all of a sudden have money. They don't know what to do with it. They can't handle it. There's too much pressure. There's too much stress. There's not enough wisdom. There's not enough knowledge. There's not enough experience. So experience is going to be part of this. But you guys out there know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you, and you know it, that you're sitting there and you just don't care anymore. And again, because you're not partaking so much, you're not engaged. So do yourself a favor. Start letting yourself be. First of all, you got to identify that, and you got to be honest with yourself and just say, I just don't care anymore. And I don't think I'm benefiting anyone, and I don't think it's benefiting me, and maybe whatever it may be. Is this too much of a time-sucking thing that I'm getting myself involved in, and I got no time for me. So I forgot to mention, what also happens is, besides just coming home unhappy, you're coming home every day burnt out. You don't even have time to draw for yourself or improve upon your skill, because you're burnt out from your job, or you just don't care anymore. You've lost the mojo. You just don't have the self-esteem anymore. You don't have, you've been beaten up at work. You've been rejected every time you do something and you turn it in. A director or someone's giving you a hard time and they're telling you it's not good enough, and go back and you're redrawing things 50 billion times. And by the time you get back, you're just like, man, what a shitty day. And now I just kind of want to, I don't even want to work on my own stuff. I just want to go sit down and just tune out, So, again, be honest with yourself. If this is something that you're experiencing, that you feel is you're in this place, well, then make the change. Start looking at other alternatives. Start digging, and you gotta dig. You gotta dig, because you sitting there and you don't maybe even know what that alternative is. You're just sitting there at that job and go, I don't know what else there is. But you know what? I think if you let yourself not worry so much about it, and if you let yourself not eat your brain alive with this torment that you cause for yourself, that by you just start brainstorming, writing things down, there goes my phone again, writing things down, and doing these things, is that's what's going to start. One thing's going to lead to another. It's the flow process of drawing. When you're drawing, if you guys, you just start writing things down. It's just having a description. I want this, and this. I did an Instagram post sort of showing that. And I'm just writing it down, and one thing leads to another. It's just like, it's almost like what Norman Rockwell did when he was doing an illustration. He would go lamppost and do the lamppost. Okay, what's next to the lamppost? Well, there's a dog next to the lamppost. So maybe it's nighttime, and maybe there's a sailor sitting next to the lamppost, and the opposite. Then the sailor has the dog, and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden the story started to unravel. But that's what happens with you anyway. Things will constantly keep unfolding. Things will constantly keep unraveling. And when you just start brainstorming, writing things down, giving yourself that opportunity, you don't know what you're going to put on paper where you go, hey, you know what? I never thought about that. But so write these things down and let that be a starting point to get you out of the things that you don't care about anymore, and say, what am I going to start doing that I'm going to start caring about for now? Again, you don't have to care for things for the rest of your life. I should hope that you care for your pets and your loved ones, for the rest of your life. But you don't have to care about your car anymore if something went wrong, or, what happens with those things. I don't, you've said it 1,000 times. Oh man, I don't care about, that bicycle anymore. I don't care about eating hamburgers anymore. So what do you do when you don't care about things? You stop doing them, but you have other alternatives. And that's the thing that you got to remember. You got to create these other alternatives for you to take you to that next level. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys are joining me in Europe. No matter where you live, I'll be out there in April. You guys can go to silvertunes.com to the events page and check it out there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. To subscribe to my mailing list and stay updated on future workshops and events, please go to my contact at silvertunes.com and simply hit join mailing list. Until the next time, make it a great week, and thank you for listening.